Withhold not your truth or kindness, Lord. Withhold not your truth or kindness, Lord.
Welcome to The Notice, where together we notice the mercy of God. My name is Julie Eickenroth, and I am sitting in as guest host of today's podcast. On this episode of The Notice, have you ever wondered if you are a gift to the world? So many of us feel stuck, unsure how to unwrap who we are so others can see the beauty God placed inside. Join me as I talk with author and my dear friend, Susan Hoekstra, about her new book, Gifts, Talents, and Skills, Oh My, Unwrapping the Gift of You. A professional clarinetist, songwriter, ministry leader, podcast host, and lay counselor, Susan is also author of the book A Firm Grasp, Feeling Validated in a Notice Me World, and host of the Notice podcast. She lives on a 14-acre property in northern Michigan known as Maple Ridge Place, where she serves as director of Affirm Ministries, offering counseling, workshops, women's events, mini retreats, and more. Well, welcome, Susan.
Well, welcome. Wow, this is a switch.
Isn't this a fun switch? It's usually you interviewing me, right?
I know. Are you having fun yet?
Oh, I'm having fun. I'm sort of hearkening back to my family's broadcasting genes or something. But I am so stoked to chat with you today about your new book. This is your second book, actually.
It is. I thought I was a one and done, Julie.
No, there's always something in there rattling around, isn't there? But your first book, A Firm Grasp, was about feeling validated in a Notice Me world, which we talked about earlier. What inspired you to write this second book?
The clients and the people that I work with. So often I sit down with them, Julie, and I just think, do they even know how cool they really are?
I think the same thing about my clients.
And like they're just like this beautiful package just waiting to be unwrapped. And oftentimes they come when they're in a broken place and they don't see all that. So I love to help them see that about themselves, that they are actually pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. I want to ask before we talk about the book so much is, what's your personal experience with this subject? You know, because you know me, I'm all about understanding internal narratives and stories in our head that, you know, that really impact our identity or how we show up in the world. So I'm curious is there a time when you struggled to accept or embrace your own uniqueness, your own bundle of gifts and your talents and skills?
Well, I talk about this in the book a little bit. When I was little, I used to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Really? Yep, I remember that.
And they had there was somebody named Hermie who wanted to be a dentist. He was an elf and he wanted to be a dentist.
Yep.
And for some reason, I really related to him because, you know, they have that song, "We're Just a Couple of Misfits." And I just felt like, I've always felt like I'm a misfit, like I don't fit in anywhere. I'm either too much or not enough. And I hated feeling that. I even felt it. I was like 7 years old when I first saw Rudolph, and I felt it then. And so throughout my life, I've kind of tried to figure out, you know, I've been trying to adapt myself to fit in with everybody else. And what I've discovered through lots of things that have happened to me with different things that I do, that I am not supposed to fit in.
You're not.
No, because see, when we want to connect in community, we're trying to find common denominators, right? Things that we have in common, things that we connect on, and that's all good. We want to do that in community, but there's also a point where our perspective, our experiences, our skills, our talents, our passions are uniquely ours. And at some point, God knows every hair we have on our head. It says Psalm 139, right? So if he knows every hair on our head, he's made each one of us unique. I mean, Julie, we all have this similar things. We have eyes, we have nose, we have mouths, we have ears, but everyone distinctly looks different. So if he did that with our physical being, isn't he doing that with everything that we are? So yes, I've struggled with this because of the different talents and that I've discovered about myself and gifts and experiences. So I've struggled with trying to make myself fit when I'm learning that it's really we're not we're meant to connect, but we don't have to disregard our uniqueness.
There's something about accepting ourselves. The Bible talks about that we are to love God, right? With all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and our neighbor as ourselves. So what's that as ourself thing that we struggle with? Christians struggle with that a lot because we think,
I talk about
myself. That's fleshly. What's that all about?
I talk about this all the time, Julie, because that verse to me tells me that we have three distinct relationships. One with God, one with others, and one with ourselves. And very often in Christian circles, they look at that self thing as, I'm being selfish.
Fleshly.
Yeah, fleshly. And I'm not saying that that doesn't have some application. But what I am saying is that we have a relationship with self. And you talk about narratives in your heads and stories in your heads. And some of them come from outside ourselves, but some of them come from within us. Sure. And, the way that we perceive ourselves. So in order to solve that relationship with yourself, of course, we look to God for our answers for our relationship with self, because it's in Him that we really get our true identity and figure out exactly who we are. So yeah, this concept of self, it's like self-awareness. And in the book, I talk about self-consciousness. Self-consciousness is always kind of looking around and trying to figure out, am I fitting in? Am I making things worse? And are they noticing me? It's all about that self-consciousness. And I talk about it as self-awareness, not self-consciousness.
Okay, self-awareness, not self-consciousness. Yeah. I think sometimes the self-consciousness has kind of a tinge of shame to
Yes.
it. But when I really have come to discover, just as I've learned about acceptance and about judgment, acceptance is the opposite of judgment, is that if God made us all sort of self-sufficient, like we have all the gifts and all the stuff we need, we know how to heal ourselves, we know how to do all the things, then we wouldn't need each other. So how do we ever grow in love? If my weakness or my inability is not there, if I'm perfect, if I am all sufficient, wrapped up in one person, then I don't need you.
Right.
And so my inability doesn't have to put a demand on your love,
right,
or your patience, or you offering your gifts, right? And I love that, because we could have just been us and God, right? But God said, no, it's not good for you to be alone.
That's right.
You need others, right? So let me ask you this. You talk about divine space and our makeup in the book. Can you explain that?
Well, think about this. I just recently had a grandson.
Oh, isn't it awesome to be a grandma?
It's my first one, folks. Yeah. And it was interesting because when I held him, time stood still for a minute. And I didn't realize this little 7-pound little person could change my heart forever, but he did. And the thing that I noticed, that everybody kind of stood still. And here's the thing, they made room for him. Because remember, he's now occupying space, right? And here's the thing is, we all occupy space. We all are matter. We take up matter. We're full of matter, and we take up space just like a tree or an animal or something. We all take up space, and we have a right to that space, okay? That's a human right given to us by God to have that space, and we're made in His image. So it's very important when you understand that you have space, you start seeing other people as having their own space, and guess what? Then there's not the enmeshment that can happen when we enable and things like that, because you're looking at everybody as separate space. And that we're all unique in our ways that we live, the experiences we've had, the skills we've developed. So we're all unique, and so I think we need to recognize that divine space.
Well, yeah, and it's about honoring that space. And I have learned that in any relationship, whether it's with God, with other people, within ourselves, honoring that person, honoring the uniqueness of that person, we negotiate our relationships in a way that no one has to disappear in the relationship for someone else to have significance, right? So,
Absolutely.
So there's room for me, there's room for you, there's room for God, there's room for other people, and of course, in our insecurity and stuff, we kind of trample on that sometimes.
We do.
So what are ways that we get off track then?
Well, one of the ways is this whole concept of misfit. Okay, that's one way we get off track.
Misfits.
And what happens there is oftentimes, like I said, we try to fit ourselves in. In Ephesians, it talks about us being God's masterpiece. You know, a lot of times people think of that as being a piece of art or something like that. And yes, we are artistic and creative and all those things that God is. But I always like to think of masterpieces that we're a piece of the master. And being a piece of the master means we reflect part of him. Okay, we don't reflect all of him. That's what you're saying. Other people reflect different parts of him. So we don't reflect. None of us reflect all of him, no, but we all reflect a piece of him. So when we're together, I'm just thinking, man, when we're in heaven, that's gonna be part of our joy. Is everyone's gonna be reflecting off Jesus, and it's gonna just be, I don't know, I'm thinking this incredible array of light. I don't know. Remember that verse? I love this verse, Psalm 34:5. It says, those who look to him are radiant. They shall never be covered with shame.
I love that scripture.
Their faces will never be covered with shame. So where does shame usually show up? In our face and our countenance. I think that's huge. There's other ways we get off track. A lot of times, I love this chapter I have in the book. It's called Percentages.
Okay.
And it talks about like, okay, let's talk about sports a little bit.
Do we have to?
Just a little.
Okay.
Well, in sports they have stats.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Now think about this. If you are really an excellent ball hitter in baseball, guess what your average score is? It's like 370. That's basically 30%, folks. That means you can be really great.
3 out of 10 times you're going to.
You can be really great and not be 100%. Okay.
That's a really interesting thought.
Yeah, because what do? We want to be perfect. We think we can't do anything. We can't step out. We can't unwrap our gift unless we're perfect. So I talk about percentages a lot. I'm in the performing arts, so a lot of times what happens in performing arts, it's 100% kind of thing. If you can make one note mistake, and everybody knows it, and you know it, okay? And there's a call to get to 100%. I kind of wish we were at the 30% like the sports, but that's another story, another podcast. But one of the things we have to realize is that none of us are 100%.
That's right.
And to put that kind of expectation on ourselves and say, I'm just not going to share my piece of the master because, I'm not perfect at it.
This is the thing. In my small groups, we have kind of started laughing about this and saying, because I kept hearing people preface their comments with, well, I'm not perfect, but. And so one day I just said, how about if we just all accept that we're not perfect? Because who defines what perfect is? That's what I mean about definitions, like misfits. Who decides what's a misfit, right? A misfit is you just don't fit into the norm. Who decided what the norm is? Right. And I think that perfection is not a reasonable expectation.
It's not.
For a human being. And that God, the Bible, people often point to the Bible verse that says, be holy as I am holy, or be perfect as I am perfect. In the original language in Greek, that be perfect or be holy means be mature. And maturity is a growth process, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And so why can't we have a little patience for each other? I love what my pastor
and for
said.
ourselves.
Yes. And my pastor mentioned this recently in a sermon, and he talked about walking along with each other at the pace of grace, and that giving each other grace to grow, and time and opportunity, and growing is a trial and error process, and that's a normal part of our growth.
Well, think about this, Julie. If you think you're a gift to the world And I'm not talking about arrogance. I talk about this in the book. We're not talking about self-promotion or arrogance or being all that. I'm just saying if you really look at yourself as a gift to the world, then all of a sudden you look at others as a gift to the world.
That's a great point. Because really what you are is you're just offering yourself.
Yes.
But there's risk in offering.
There is risk.
Isn't there? So how do we manage the risk? How do we manage that fear? Well, there we go to the judgment of perfectionism. And what if I fail and then people won't love me or people won't accept me? How do we manage that risk?
Well, there's a lot. We cover detours, like different detours that we get in life. In the book, we talk about.
Can you give me an example of a
An
detour?
example of a detour is, okay, I had planned on writing a book, but then my mom got sick and I had to take care of her.
Some crisis or
Yeah.
even just being tired or stressed out or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or and you plan for things and then they don't happen because of one
Like
reason
when
or
you wrote
another.
your first book.
Like when I wrote my
lost
first
the
book.
manuscript.
Yep, and I
Had to
had to
rewrite
rewrite it. That was a detour. I actually talk about that in the book.
That was a major detour.
That was a big detour.
I give you a lot of credit for circling back and actually doing it again.
And so those are detours that happen all the time. But the thing is that, in John 5, John 5 story where the man's at the pool and Jesus says, do you want to be healed? And he walks down and that he gives Jesus a whole list of excuses.
Right.
They're excuses, folks. They're not explanations. That's an excuse. Read it. You'll see what I mean. He gives a whole list of excuses. And I think one of the things is we use detours as an excuse. I know that's hard to say, but we use it as an excuse to not look to Jesus and let us shine.
And maybe honestly reflect on, I have fear. I'm afraid. What am I afraid of? Am I afraid of failing? Am I afraid of rejection? Those are all common things that impact our ability to do things. But in the parable of the talents, the two guys went and did something. The third guy hid it in the ground because he was afraid. Right? He was afraid, so he hid it. And he also judged the giver of the gift. He said, I knew you to be a hard man. You reap where you do not sow. Well, of course he reaped where he did not sow, because he gave the gift to the other guy, and he had the expectation the guy would do something with it.
And folks, hiding is something that we do. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've hid a lot of my skills and talents because I felt like, oh no, I'm going to intimidate somebody or they're going to feel bad. I had a friend recently who I met with, and I was telling her everything that's going on. I have a book coming out at grandkids. I have, we have this things that we're starting here we have Mondays at Maple Ridge Place. Check it out. We have all kinds of things happening, and it's exciting. And she just looked at me. She says, I don't have anything going on for God. And of course, we had to talk about that. Good. Because she had just got done. We were at Chipotle. She just got done witnessing to this guy at Chipotle, and I'm like, what? Didn't you say she has different gifts than I do? Just because, and I talk about that, just because it's not on a platform does not mean it's not worthy.
Oh, and I just got to step in here right there and say, this idea that somehow your gift is only valuable if you have a big platform, I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired because monetizing a platform or speaking to millions of people or even thousands of people, you know what? Most of us are just going to put our little drop in the ocean. We're going to minister to our community. We're going to minister in small ways. But I think that's the vast majority of people on this planet are meant to have an impact in their immediate environment, their immediate backyard, their immediate community.
With the guy at Chipotle.
Or the neighbor you borrowed a mower from or something. I think that's the most common, most beautiful, most ordinary but special way that we share our gift is in these small, gentle ways, reflecting the love of Jesus, being interested in people, being compassionate. And I think we just get intimidated about sharing our gift right off the get-go because we think it has to be this big, giant, sparkly thing, and it's not.
I also think we get confused about our gifts. Like in the book, I talk about the different parts of us. Okay.
What's that about?
So, like, for instance, one of the things I bring up is that we live in different spheres. In our divine space, it's kind of split up into spheres. Our physical life, our emotional life, our social life, our spiritual life, and our intellectual or creative life. Okay. We all have those spheres. our life is expressed through those kinds of things. But we also are made up of a bunch of things. It's not just one thing. So, for instance, I talk about talents. Talents are those things that just come easily to you, okay? Things that you maybe are drawn to. Most of us are drawn to things that come easily to us.
Preferences. We have our unique preferences.
Right. Some people are really, really good with numbers. I like those people.
Yeah, I depend on those people.
Right. Okay. They're numbers people. I'm more of a words person, but they're numbers persons.
Words are my math.
Okay. And we all have different talents. Okay. Now, some of them are overt and some of them aren't. Okay. It doesn't have to be on a platform to have be a talent. Then I talk about the difference between a talent and a spiritual gift. Now, spiritual gifts are given to believers in Jesus Christ. Not everybody gets a spiritual gift.
Right.
Some people can be talented and not be a Christian.
Yeah, and the Spirit, or the Word says in 1 Corinthians 12, the Spirit gives the gifts as He wills to whom He wills.
That's right. And I would add, when He wills.
When He wills, that's right.
So the spiritual gifts, now, there's lots of great books and assessment tools and tests, and I've done all those things where you can kind of look and see what your spiritual gifts are.
Those can change over your life, can't they?
They can change in the moment.
Yeah, you could be a pastoral person 1 minute and a prophetic or mercy person, but they kind of come and go depending on what the situation demands.
And I talk about that as in the spiritual gift chapter, is that the Holy Spirit's going to do what the Holy Spirit's going to do. And if He's really operating in your life, you might not even know it. Okay. Or there's sometimes I know it's the Spirit because I know I'm not that patient, or I know I'm not this.
Well, and I've seen people hold back their spiritual gifts because they are afraid of failure, like a healing gift. Not, I believe every Christian can pray for healing for someone. But there's some people who that's their main calling, or they're especially gifted in that area. But to take a risk to pray for someone and they won't be healed, that is a huge bundle of stuff. I know people who have that gift who said they maybe prayed for 1,000 people before they got someone healed. I prayed for someone once and they got healed of a sunburn. And and I was so shocked I didn't even it's like I went away and the next week they said they got healed.
And those are spiritual gifts meant for the body of Christ to edify and strengthen. So that's, if you're not a Christian, you're not going to have a spiritual gift.
Right.
Okay. And then I talk about experiences. Experiences are things that you were exposed to. Like, where did you grow up? What kind of ethnic background do you have? Who were your parents? For instance, my children, since I'm a musician, my children were exposed to music. So some people, like, let's say they grew up on a farm, they're going to have, they're going to be more likely to,
kind of woven into the work.
So what you've been exposed to, also your experiences, things that like some people have never been cross-country skiing or downhill skiing. Okay, they have, and some people have, and some people are Olympic athletes. So it's all over the map. We have different experiences of things that we've done or whatever. There's two other aspects of your experience I talk about. One is your pain points. Okay, and these are the traumas that you've experienced, the negative things that have come your way. They're part of your gift, folks. I'm going to say that again. Your pain points are part of your gift. 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4 says to comfort others with the same comfort you receive from God. So if God has helped you through your pain, then that's a gift to the world. And you can help other people who have experienced that. And that's one of the things that woke me up, is realizing that the pain and the things that I've been through, like the sexual abuse and the sexual harassment and adultery, all those kinds of things were pain points in my life. But it helps me sit with other people in those pain points.
I don't think that you really learn to love or develop compassion until you've suffered. Suffering is a doctrine in the Word of God. There is a place Jesus learned obedience by the things that he suffered. But, and he being the Son of God was also the Son of Man. So he had to learn what it was like to live in a human body with all the weaknesses and limitations and the frustrations and interacting with people through a human body, our aches and pains and all kinds of things. I don't think you learn compassion unless you've suffered and have some
Exactly.
Points,
And then I also talk about your highlight reel, because there are some things that happen in our life, like maybe you were valedictorian of your class. Yay! Celebrate. That's part of your experiences. So there's that. Then I talk about skills. Now, I define skills, and you might have to get the book to read all the stuff.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
the skills I kind of talk about as being things that we learn and practice over time. So that could be your education as part of your skills. Like, for instance, I'm a clarinetist, but I can tell you the first time I played the clarinet, I don't sound like I do now. So there was a lot of practice and skill building that went into it. Even though I had musical talent, I still had to build the skill.
Right.
So there's skills, and there's even spiritual skills and all those kinds of things too. So I talk about skills. I talk about passions. Passions are those things that just, you just get under your skin. Like, I'm passionate about this subject. You can probably tell in my voice.
I can definitely
Okay.
tell.
And I'm like, yeah. Okay. When people are passionate, they sort of light up like a Christmas tree.
Do, yeah.
And that's part of their radiating. And you learn a lot about your gift through what you're passionate about. And it doesn't always have to be passionate. It could be passionate about injustice. Like, think about Mothers Against Drunk Driving. But that came about because a child was killed from a drunk driver. So a mother had a passion that we got to change the laws. So there's a lot of gifts that we can give to the world through our passions. And the other thing that I really talk about is values. Okay. Our values dictate a lot about who we are.
Oh, they sure do.
Because they come from our belief system. If we've been lied to, for instance, in our life, if someone's betrayed us or lied to us, we're going to value honesty, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's partly what happens. I had this conversation with someone recently who was talking about, she's a grandma, and she was talking about her son-in-law's parents as grandparents and how they weren't doing all the stuff that they did. And I said, oh, it sounds like they have different values. And she really looked at me like, what? And I'm like, yeah, they just have different values. And the thing is, if you understand your values, and then you understand somebody's values are different, even if you don't agree, which I talk about in my first book, you can validate and still be present and connect with that person, even though you're different. So connection and difference.
That's a lot. There's a lot there. This sounds like a really rich discussion in your book. I want to, as you're talking about all of these things, we're basically really talking about how unique each person is and all the bundle of those things that you talked about that make us who we are. So this podcast talks about how God notices us. So how does God notice our uniqueness, and how does he interact with us about our uniqueness?
Well,
at least in your experience.
First of all, the fact that your package, no one else has the same package as you. They don't have the experiences, the skills, the talents, the values, the passions, the spiritual gifts, the talents. No one else has the same exact package as you. So right there, you can celebrate the fact that everyone's different. And I think that if we look at that, at ourselves. And that's what I hope the book will do, is help us reflect. In fact, I call the chapters reflections. I don't call them chapters because I guess I'm trying to encourage people to kind of reflect. Just think about it. They're short chapters, and just kind of think about it a little bit. What things do I value? I think he celebrates that. He celebrates that. We know he celebrates our uniqueness, physically different, because we're all different, right? We can take that right there in that sphere.
So is there, just as a closing thought, can you identify maybe one moment in your life where you felt noticed and celebrated by God because of your uniqueness, the way he loved and appreciated you as his unique daughter?
Wow. I'm going to need a minute.
That's okay. Because
Because, I mean, there's been a lot of times. And I think if I were to wrap it up, no pun intended, but if I were to wrap it up in one thing, is he said, you're a lot of things, honey. You are a lot of things. And don't let yourself hide yourself under a bushel. Yes, you can play the clarinet well. You're a good songwriter. I'm a decent author. I love doing my podcast. I love working one-on-one with people and helping them. Love teaching the workshops. These are all things that are in my wheelhouse based on all my package that I just explained. And what I learned is God said, just go. Just go and do it. Let yourself be available. Don't give your piece of yourself to the world. But I'm going to tell you, Julie, it took me a while to get to that place.
Well, and I think that because you've experienced that affirmation from God, that he's dealt with you directly about that, that's what I see in you, is that you have a deep joy and appreciation for other people, like I do, just that beautiful enjoyment and that longing to see that gift unwrapped, to see that person shine. I think that God gives us gifts and skills and talents and abilities because he wants us to enjoy serving him. I mean, I always think about, what if God told me, your job in life and what you're going to do and you're called to do is to clean toilets for the rest of your life, and you really suck at it, and so you're just going to do that. Well, we might do that out of obedience, but I think he delights in giving us these gifts so that we'll be good at something and we will enjoy our life.
But I would say,
serving him.
Who are you? Remember the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Who are you when you clean the toilets?
Yes.
What kind of person are
How
you?
do you show up when you clean the toilets?
Right. and I really want to say one thing, and I want to make sure this gets out there. We're a gift for sure. But remember, a gift has to have a giver.
Yes. And it has to have a recipient.
Right. And so somebody gave us this. And we need to start looking at our package as a gift from God. And to thank him for that gift. And out of what he's given you is what you express to the world. We can't.
A gift is meant to be shared.
It needs to be unwrapped. We need to see what's inside, folks.
Well, Susan, this has been such a rich conversation.
Thank
you. Thank you for writing the book, for being really vulnerable and practical in it. I know your listeners are going to feel like a fresh sense of hope, maybe, that it's finally okay to unwrap who God created them to be. Right?
I hope so.
So your book is a beautiful reminder that we're not accidents, we're not too much, we're not lacking. We're intentionally designed by a God who notices us and equips us to bless others. So friends, if you've ever felt stuck or unseen or unsure of your purpose, I really encourage you to grab a copy of Susan's book. Whether you're in a season of searching or you just need fresh encouragement to fully step into who God made you to be, this book will speak to your heart. Susan, before we go, what's the best place for people to find your book and stay connected with you?
Well, you can always look on my website, susanhoekstra.com. There's lots of information on there and probably a lot of stuff on there, music, books, things like that. It's going to be available on Amazon beginning June 13th, and you're going to be able to start pre-orders June 1st. Yes. So you can go ahead and pre-order it. I'm also having a book launch party here on the property on June 13th in the morning from 10 to 12, and we're going to celebrate, enjoy. I'll even sign your book if you want, and we'll have books available then for you to purchase too. So you can get them there. Tell your friends, bring people, look into it, and it will be available on Amazon. All you have to do is go on Amazon, and it's also on Ingram Sparks and some other places. So go ahead, because it is going to be available in an ebook form. You can get it in a paperback, and there will also be an audio coming out.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, we'll put those links in the show notes for you. And Susan, thank you again for being with us today and for letting me flip the script on you.
And I got to say, Julie, you did a great job. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. It's been an absolute joy, my friend.
Yeah. Good job, girl.
Until next time, this is Julie Eickenroth signing off from the Notice. Keep noticing the mercy of God and in your own life, and keep unwrapping the beautiful gift that you are. We'll see you again soon.